I'm Fabiola. I'm your host. I'm very delighted today to have pioneers on the subject of nutrition and really helping people get to the root cause of their whatever might be going on. So we have Nick and Marina. And to make sure I don't miss anything, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Or, hi, guys. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks for having us. So I'm Marina Howarth. This is my husband, Nick Howarth. And we are the owners of Best Body Health Coaching company. And we started it because we have a passion for helping people and true help, really. That's why we like your podcast, because we like to get to the root cause instead of just handling symptoms. Nick can tell you a little bit more about the business itself.
Yeah, so we started it 10 years ago when we ventured into this. We've always been interested in health, but we found that we knew nothing about it when we were putting on weight and we weren't healthy, and we were like, okay, we're doing something wrong, So we bumped into a book called The Real Meal Revolution. It was written by Professor Tim Noakes, and he's a South African professor and a pioneer in diets and sports nutrition and everything. And I'm a lifelong athlete, so I'd followed him my entire life. So anyway, we did a course through him, through the Professor Tim Noakes Foundation. And from there, it just evolved into a business that really like which is the name of your podcast, the root cause. We really got into what the root cause was for why people are sick, why people can't lose weight, all of these things, why people have aches and pains, why people have diabetes, and how to handle it, And over the years, we've researched and experienced for ourselves the way how our program is kind of rolled out, So we've done it ourselves, and we still do it. 10 years later, we're very strict, and we try to be good examples to our clients, which is, I think, part of the successful action,
Right. Well, that's so awesome. Yeah. I mean, you're so right on, getting to not just being reasonable as to why people are not getting to, to the maximum health, because we definitely know that the body knows how to heal and repair itself. And is when it encounters this different barriers like chemical toxicities, mold, parasites, you name it, that are never truly address, right? And people just unfortunately, sometimes they just, give me a pill and I just want to feel better, right? Yeah, which I've never heard of, by the way, like none of my clients. But I really love your mission and your concept, and and I think having been helping clients or helping people for as many years as you have, is just, you probably have some amazing success stories I definitely want to hear about as we continue this interview. That's so awesome. So what are some of you mentioned something dear to my heart, which is diabetes. My brother has type 1 diabetes and my mother has type 2 diabetes. And interestingly enough, this is something that was diagnosed for them later in their life, right? And when you're born with something like that, genetically, I guess it makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
That's how you came out of the oven, now we deal with it, right? It shouldn't be that way either way. But when someone has some of these ailments later on in life, it just speaks to the amount of toxicity, right, that we have in our world. Amount of toxicities we're exposed to. So what kind of and not just talking about diabetes, right, but heart disease, the amount of chronic inflammation that people unfortunately are always subjected to. And based on your knowledge and based on your clinical experience, what would you say that you found is the, if you can pinpoint it or name a few kind of barriers to healing and why people may not be getting better when they should be?
Are we referring specifically to diabetes here, or just in general?
Anything. Yeah, just anything that diabetes just resonated with me when you said that, but I'm sure it applies to everything you work with.
So I mean, what I found is that you have um, you can even like the health industry, the natural health industry. So you can go and you can take your vitamins and you can take your minerals and you can have all of these things. But if the body's not assimilating the goodness out of them, you're basically wasting your money.
Right.
So the way that you have to be able to get your body into a position where it's digesting food properly, it's breaking down fat properly, so that it gets the fat soluble vitamins like vitamin E, vitamin D, and if it's not doing that, you become deficient, which then is like a dwindling spiral of deficiencies. So a vitamin E deficiency causes this, and a omega-3 deficiency causes that, and so and the other thing as well is this, with the natural health industry, there's a lot of people who do a lot of good in that industry, but it is also kind of turning into an industry where there's a lot of yield and a lot of profit looked after. So like for instance, you'll get most vitamins that we see on the shelf in an average health store is a synthetic vitamin, and a synthetic vitamin is for acute use. It's not for chronic use. So that's the one thing, and then what I was saying originally is the body just doesn't assimilate these things. It goes straight through, and why people saying, "But I'm taking like 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day. Why am I still getting the flu?" It's like, well, maybe 5 milligrams are making it through to the cells. So that's what we do. Is our program gets the body to a point where the cells are accepting nutrition again, because diabetes is an interesting subject, and a lot of the population of Earth actually have it and they don't know it.
Yeah.
Or a mild version of it, like an insulin resistance or something like that. And what that actually means is that insulin is not entering the cell. That's diabetes type 2 I'm talking about. I mean, diabetes type 1 is a whole nother subject.
Right.
Diabetes type 2 is where you've had a lifestyle that has basically caused this, and now the cells have shut down and they're going, we're not accepting insulin anymore, because insulin, there's too much of it and it's causing inflammation. And the cell, being a little organism that's has a survival potential of its own, then says, hang on a sec, you're harming me, we're going to block you out. Yeah. So if you can imagine a cell with these little landing pads, and the insulin being a little spaceship that lands on this landing pad and is accepted into the cell, those landing pads shut down to the insulin. So you become insulin resistant. That's where the word comes from. Insulin has a few functions in the body. One is to remove glucose from the blood, which is why it goes high on a high carbohydrates and high sugar diet. And the other is to take nutrients and put it inside the cell. So it takes glycogen, which is what the liver turns carbohydrates into, and it puts it inside the cell. But if it's not allowed inside the cell, those nutrients are not going in there anymore. And what it does is it creates a terrible snowball effect, where the person's now hungry all the time because he's malnourished. He's not getting the nutrients. So he continues to eat, which makes his insulin go higher, which makes his cells more resistant. And it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And that's what it is, you see. So you have to reverse that, so that the body can then, or the cells in the body can then start accepting nutrients like they should do. And it's actually not as hard as it sounds. And it's, I mean, there's obviously a technical thing to it, but it's actually very easy and practical to be able to do that, if you know how. And that's kind of what we do with our program. Is we not only get people through the program where they get healthy and they lose weight as a consequence of getting healthy. Right. They're now educated, and they know they've had a full experience. Like, the proof is in the pudding for them now. Oh, well, I saw when I did this, I was healthy, and I saw when I did that, I wasn't. So they know what foods make them fat and make them unhealthy, and they know what foods make them thin and make them healthy. So that's kind of why we've been so successful. Is we aim for that. We have to find out exactly what it is that's wrong with a person first, though, to be able to home in on, what is actually going on there. So yeah, that's in a nutshell.
That's awesome. No, I love that. I mean, I love your analogy of the spaceship, because it's so people can think with that, right? But I like to say there's imagine a hotel and there's no vacancy, right? All that high insulin in your body is just, and all that glucose, right, is just, it's not good for you. So your cells are trying to send your message. How do you go about, like, determining, well, when someone comes to you, definitely you, based on their assessment and whatever testing you do, you probably are able to determine, okay, this is where, these are the type of nutrients that this person is not assimilating. And so would you mind sharing, like, what your process is in regards to how do you support people's health, finding that out, and then how you move them through your program?
Yep.
Yes. So we have two steps that we do. We do a full health assessment. We just do it telephonically. First of all, we find out a bit more information about the person and his body and what's happened in, so far in his life. And then we have a whole lot of questions, which is really just yes and no answers, but it gets what manifestations your body is exhibiting at the moment. And with that, we are able to see which areas of the endocrine system is not functioning properly. And what the second part is, we also look at photographs of the person, because whichever part of the endocrine system is not functioning properly, what happens is the body starts to deposit fat in that area and makes your body have a certain shape. So by looking at the photographs, we are able to see what shape your body is. And together with a health assessment, we can then see, okay, this person needs to handle his liver, or we need to handle the adrenals, or, whichever area. And then based on that, we create a personalized program for them, which has the correct organic supplements to handle those areas. It has the correct food for that specific issue. And it specifically tells him, we give him a meal plan and whatever to say, this is what you do then, after this, you do this. And it's a simple process, which is 2 months long. And it, handles all those specific issues that come up on the health assessment.
Wow, that's so cool. I love that about pictures, and I'm scrolling down Instagram or Facebook, and what's your body shape? And you answer all these questions, um and I love that, because then that, you're right, there's a physical assessment to it, like when you look as a practitioner, how eyebrows can tell you so much about the thyroid,
Exactly.
or belly fat, right, about insulin resistance and stuff like that. So that's so awesome. I love that process, and I think it speaks to your integrity and really analyzing what's going on with that person's body, versus just, oh, okay, well, we know how you feel, and this is a recommendation, but you really get to, like, what organ or what system is not functioning that is making you feel that way.
Yes, but even
Yeah.
doing those questions, the person that you are doing the assessment on, they thought that, it's just part of life and that's the way they are. And then you ask them that specific question and they're like, really? Does this mean that there's something wrong in my body, And it makes them think, and they realize what is actually going on, and that they really do need to address it.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. Because sometimes the outgoing symptoms is increasing that awareness level, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
getting people to first realize, yes, there is a problem, and then what
Yeah.
must be done about it in order to get better, get them to want that change.
Yeah.
Um, wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I've recently, I don't know if you're familiar with this book. It's called the Blood Code. And I can't quite remember the name of the author. Is a doctor who has even, like, figured out the ratio, like, to determine insulin resistance,
Oh,
and, like, you get your glucose, your fasting glucose, and you get your fasting insulin number from your labs. You plug those into the system, and then it gives you a ratio. And I've been playing with that tool lately, and I'm like, wow, just because someone's glucose level is in a healthy range and someone's fasting insulin is in a healthy range, when you look at the ratio, then you can see, you can really see whether that person is being insulin resistant or not.
yeah.
And And you're right, I want to say probably over 90% of the population definitely are to some degree pre-diabetic or diabetic, and like you said, they don't even know it, right? Because they're
Yeah.
just we're
It
so
takes about
stressed.
15 years. It takes about 15 years for diabetes type 2 to really set in, where it's like, okay, I'm sick now. I need something's wrong here. But it would have, if the correct blood tests were done earlier on, you would have been able to pick it up very early, But
Yeah,
they just test fasting glucose, and
yeah. I know. Yeah, yeah. And it's like, so as practitioners, I guess we're on a mission about educating our clients, right? And we're like,
yeah,
no, you got to tell your doctor this is what you need. And I often tell people, well, who's paying for the insurance, your doctor or you? I'm like,
yeah,
them to get you the care that you need. But oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, so that kind of makes sense as to why some people's um like systems may take that long to just to the system finally break down and be like, okay, I'm
yeah,
ill, do something about it, because we're not going to make it. So that's
yeah.
really interesting. Would you speak to like why quality of supplements has, what is the importance of truly adding? So you're removing barriers, right? You're working with organs and systems, but why is it important to do it organically, right? To have a good quality supplement. What can I just go to the store and buy like the generic vitamin B that yeah. So can you speak to us about that?
So basically, you've got to get your. I mean, as far as vitamins go, the 90% of the vitamins on the shelf are not um, organic vitamins. They are synthetic vitamins. So you'll get like, for instance, even like vitamin B1, for instance, thiamine.
Yeah.
Thiamine is not vitamin B1. It's thiamine. So it's a synthetic vitamin B1. Handlings, like a person has cognitive issues or energy issues or something like that, and you quickly give him a whole dose of that for a week, and it kind of handles it, but it's not meant for prolonged use.
Hmm.
You could get your vitamin B from nutritional yeast. That's where you should be getting all your B vitamins from. So you can actually, but the reason why generally people out there cannot get their vitamin B from nutritional yeast is because their bodies are not absorbing the vitamins like the way they should do. So they're not
Hmm.
absorbing the synthetic vitamins either. But if they want to, because obviously in nutritional yeast, for instance, it's a very low level of vitamin B, but it's real stuff. It's the real McCoy stuff that really does the job that vitamin B is supposed to do. So it's vitamin B5, vitamin B1, vitamin B12. I think it's got vitamin B6 in it. So then it takes it and it uses it all. Now it's nutritionally dense food, and the body takes it and it uses all of that and it does the correct function in the body, So, and for instance, with vitamin C, for instance, so you pick up a bottle of vitamin C and you look on the back and it's ascorbic acid, and ascorbic acid is like one of 76 elements in vitamin C. It's the worst one. It's not even a good one,
Yeah.
and people take it and then they take 10,000 milligrams because he's got the flu and his tummy runs and he doesn't know why, and all of this kind of thing is happening. So, and then backing up to like what we use mostly is herbal remedies. Like we do use the vitamins. So we'll get our vitamin C from sauerkraut, for instance, and those kinds of things. But you'll get your vitamin B from other things. But when it comes to like herbal stuff, you need to get the organic stuff, because it's no point in trying to handle the endocrine system, which is literally a communication system of the body, which is made up of little fatty globules called glands that communicate with one another through the production, dispersion, and reception of hormones. These things, remember, they are fatty glands. So when you're putting toxins into the body, they are going to gather in these fatty glands. So then this fatty gland starts to shut down. And it's a communication terminal in the body. It's trying to communicate. It's trying to receive and send communications. But if it's compromised, communication breaks down. And you have a look at any organization, which comes from the word organism, funnily enough, because it has life. You break communication down in any organization, that organization starts to break down. You see, so it's got everything to do with these endocrine disruptors. And that's why we make sure that we take them off the stuff that's making them sick and causing the endocrine system problems. And then when we're healing the endocrine system with our herbs, we're making sure that they're not putting more of the same stuff in that's damaged them in the first place. So organic is extremely important. It's not just a fad, like, oh, I eat organic and I go down to the store and I buy the organic stuff, it actually has purpose, because if you put, like, for instance, glyphosate, this Monsanto glyphosate thing, so that mimics estrogen in the body, and we have enough estrogen. We don't need any more of it, there's enough of that in our diets, in our environment, So there's those. That's why it's really important to look at the organic side of things and not just go buy anything off the shelf. You've got to get the quality stuff, because in the end, if you don't, it's going to cost you more money at the end of the day.
But even just the labels on the supplements, sometimes they add things to the supplements, like maltodextrin or
Sugar.
Starches, and so then it basically nullifies what you're trying to do with taking that supplement in the first place. So you have to read the label and make sure that it has the correct stuff in it as well.
Yeah, you're right. It's like you're emptying the trash can and then someone is putting more trash in it at the same time, right?
Yeah.
It's like baby pandas, trying to take care of baby pandas. It's
in South Africa, we have our own brand of supplements that we give to our South African clients.
Yeah.
And the only reason it's actually turned into a very successful business, but we didn't start it to make a business out of it. We started it because we just couldn't find the right supplements, and we'd send our client to a health shop, and then the health shop owner, God bless him, would say, no, you don't need that. You need, this is what you need,
Yeah.
and we're like, oh man, go back, give that stuff back.
Yeah.
So we started our own brand, and, we made sure it's all organic and they get exactly what we want them to have in the right dosages and all of that,
That's awesome. Yeah. I've been just learning so much more about herbs as well, and how they truly are our medicine, right? And with, no side effects, right? Like sometimes I suffer of migraines or headaches, and I take Salagesic from Meteor from Standard Process.
Yeah.
And aspirin was, Salagesic, that, or was, it's mimicking aspirin is mimicking Salagesic, and I'm like, oh gosh, like if I knew this before, like many years ago, depending on aspirin for headaches, then I would have never really done the aspirin. I would have just been like, hey, I'm going to take my Salagesic. That's what's on my medicine cabinet now. So
yeah,
that's so cool. Yeah, no. And it's so amazing because, like, I feel like you haven't, like, you've seen a need for a change of paradigm, right? And when it comes to nutrition and people's health and how that ripples into their lives, right? They're healthier, they're happier, they have better relationships with their spouses, they have relationships with their coworkers, with their kids. And how that's just, it's a whole, like, a ripple effect. And the fact that you went even above and beyond with, like, okay, we need the tools to be able to repair our clients' health, and created a company so that there was no barriers there, and you really are helping them so comprehensively. So that's really awesome.
Yeah. I just wanted to back up to what you were saying about natural remedies, and then you have the pharmaceutical remedies, and a lot of people don't really realize where pharmaceutical remedies come from. These pharmaceutical companies send scouts out into places like the Amazon basin, Central Africa, the outback, and they find these herbs that really work. And then they take them back to the lab and they make a synthetic version of it, because you obviously can't patent you can't patent nature. Now, I'm not getting all conspiracy theories about this. I'm just making a point about why natural medicine doesn't get tested. It doesn't get tested because there's no money in it, because you can't patent it. So it doesn't have all these. So it says, currently untested. And the only reason why the pharmaceuticals are tested is because there is money in it. There's a synthetic version of what's already out there. So it's interesting that you said you found this natural remedy, which aspirin mimics.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. I agree with you. And I think over the last few years, since COVID, people have just, at least for me, with the people I'm working with, they're looking for different answers.
Mm,
They're like sort of fed
Totally.
up with what they're doing, and they're like, I don't know, something doesn't make sense. I keep taking this and I don't feel better.
mm,
Whether that's a supplement, whether it's that a medication, or whether it's whatever, right? It's not within our scope of practice to tell people to taking their medications or not, right? That's between them and their doctors.
Totally.
yeah,
But I do see that as we work on really getting to the root cause of what's creating that their systems not to function, because their bodies are back online, that there's almost the need for additional help becomes less and less and less.
Yeah.
So I love to hear, like those success stories from my clients are like come in, they're like, hey, my doctor said I don't need to take blah 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 anymore because my heart is doing better. I'm like, yay, we
Yeah.
celebrate those wins so profusely because they're just they're amazing. You don't have to depend on something else to feel better, whether that's, yeah, like I said, a medication or a supplement. Your body is doing its job because you worked so hard to get it to that point.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you share some of your, like, what you could consider your most success stories? You're like, oh, this client, you always think about them.
Yes, I suppose. I mean, there are so many, but I just recently finished a lady who has had problems with her menstrual cycle from the time that she started. Every time it happens, she gets migraines and nauseous that she has to be in bed for the first 2 or 3 days. Now that she's working, she has to take off work. She's married. Her husband is like, don't, I'm scared of you, type of thing. And, she started our program, and the first month it was still a little bit, heavy, still a little bit of a headache. The
But it
next,
wasn't as bad though.
not as bad as all at
Mhm.
all. And then the next month, her husband didn't even know she was on her period, because she was working. She didn't have a migraine. She wasn't in bed, and she just, it changes her life. It changes her relationship with her husband. It changed work for her, because she's always worried that she's going to get maybe laid off because, she has to stay off work, or her husband is going to, get sick of her, type of thing, and it just changed everything. And she was so happy that now, that part of her life, it's just handled, and she knows what to do from now on, and it's just easy, so it was a very nice win for all of us.
She also lost 15 pounds while
Oh
all that
yes,
happened.
on the side.
Wow. Oh, wow. That
Yeah.
is so awesome. Yeah, gosh, like women and how awful that we are. The perception when we're going through our cycles because of what our bodies are
Yeah.
experiencing. But that is so awesome. And I love it. Earlier, Nick, you mentioned something about how when you get the body healthy, then you start losing weight.
Mm.
And that is so true, right? How you start addressing these toxins that are keeping
Yeah.
you. I mean, a fat is a protective mechanism, right? I mean, there's the reason why babies are chubby, right? And there's a reason why, as women, as we age, we may have a little more fat here and there. It is a protective mechanism. And when you remove like those heavy metals, like I was saying, parasites, mold, like glyphosate, right, which is like
Yeah.
everywhere, then your body, the fat is like, oh, I guess I no longer have a job here, and then
Yeah.
kind of just like,
Totally.
it's you. Then you use it, right, for fuel, and then you start really utilizing those, what's in your body, and then feeling better. So that's so great.
And it's an
Um,
interesting fuel to use as well because when you people often wonder why people who start burning fat as fuel and move away from the carbohydrates, and why they always seem to be healthier and slimmer is when you're eating carbohydrates, you can't really store that much energy. You can only store like about 6,000 calories at any given time, and that's in your liver and in your most frequently used muscles. But when you're using fat, which is basically turns into ketones and triglycerides, you can use
yeah.
you store 100,000. calories,
Wow.
as opposed to 6,000. So hence I'm a sportsman. I do sport every day. I ride a bicycle, basically. That's what I do. So I ride a bicycle. I'm an avid cyclist, and I eat once a day. I don't need to eat more than once a day. It's just because my body's burning fat as fuel. I have massive stores of energy. I never eat before I ride my bike because it makes me sluggish. It's like eating is actually, it slows me down, man. Yeah. It's really, it turns into when you really get into our program, and this is probably 90% of our clients come back to us and say, I can't believe how much attention I had stuck on food all the time. I was like always thinking about, now I'm like, oh, it's time to eat again. I've got to eat, and it's like, maybe we all like good food. Let's face it, we like good food, but it's not like, you're not thinking about it all the time, So it is quite interesting that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I relate. I'm born and raised in Mexico, and I can clearly remember just, we like to spend hours at the table, just like either eating or munching or, talking and
bread
then
and oil.
Yeah. I remember one time as a kid, like we were finishing lunch or breakfast. I can't remember what it was. And then we were just at the table, had been at the table for so long that it was time for our next meal. So we had to get up. And I was like, oh my gosh. And my husband, he is a health coach himself, and he is from the U.S. And so every time he goes to Mexico when we visit, he has such a hard time with well, are we getting up? Like, we're done eating now? Why are we not getting up? Like, why does sister keeps bringing food? I'm like, that's just the culture. But you're right. We're never at a fasted state. We're always thinking, we just had breakfast. What's for lunch? And I'm like, it hasn't even been 3 hours and you're already asking me what's for lunch. So I agree. Yeah, fasting is such a fascinating, right? I mean, it's definitely taken over, intermittent fasting over the last few years. It's become, a lot of known practitioners out there are talking about, fasting, practicing fasting. Dr. Mercola just, having written Fat for Fuel and stuff like that. So, fasting is amazing. I think in a controlled environment and supervised, of course, as well, then you can get so many benefits from fasting. Totally. Yeah, that's so cool.
I mean, you can go if you were obese, you could go over a year. You could go over a year fasting without eating a single thing, and it's been done. There was a guy here in South Africa recently who lost 75 kilograms, which is about 180 pounds or 170 pounds in 100 days fasting.
Wow.
And it really is just a matter of, making sure that you have your electrolytes and, and your B vitamins, basically.
Right. Yeah. Doing it right, supporting your body through that process. Yeah. I mean, I think as much as I love a modern society to a very large degree, because, we can do things like this, right? You're in a whole different part of the world, and I'm in a different part of the world, and we're able to connect like this. So technology has its advantages, but at the same time, it's really taken us out of, since the Industrial Revolution, going to bed when the sun is, gone down, and we're just so immersed into our modern world. We've forgotten some of those principles that humanity has been practicing for thousands of years, and due to the increase of chemical toxicities, like you were mentioning, glyphosate. That's just how it's slowing us down, getting our bodies getting poisoned, and then we wonder, why are we not losing weight? Why is there heart disease? Why is there an epidemic of diabetes? Why is there, women's, going through hell of menopause, or, as soon as they get the cycle, they have to go on birth control because they're awful, things like that. So, well, I'm kind of ready to start your program, by the way.
Oh, great. Yes. You're welcome.
Yeah, it's good. We love it because, I think the selling point on it is that we're 100% confident in the program. It's not, we have no shadow of a doubt that it will help every individual that does the program.
That's so cool.
That's so cool. And it's not complicated. We've simplified it. We've made it simple, and it's based on simple principles,
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Back to basics, right? Back to
Yeah,
like what reinvent the wheel. You just have to follow that physiology path.
yeah,
That's so cool. So you work with clients from all over the world, I presume.
That's right. Yes.
That's so
yeah.
cool. And how, if someone, whomever might be listening to this from whichever part of the world, how would they go about reaching you and getting started on their journey?
Well, we have a website, www.bestbodyhealthcoach.com. They can go on there, find out more about the program. They can, send us a message or sign up right there and then. We have a Facebook page called BBH Coach. That they can go look at some success stories, and see how we've helped different people with different situations. They then just contact us on marina@bestbodyhealthcoach.com or nick@bestbodyhealthcoach.com. Email us or, Facebook message us, and we can schedule a health assessment for them. And then once we've done that, we'll be able to tell them exactly how we can help them and get them started. And sometimes it looks a little bit daunting for people, how are they going to do that? But the fact that we do one-on-one daily coaching, we're there holding your hand, answering questions, and we make sure that you get educated, throughout the 2 months, so that by the end of the 2 months, you are confident that you can continue this lifestyle on your own and, maintain your health and your weight. They just need to reach out to us, and then we will be happy to do a free health assessment, and it's no obligation, and take it from there.
We also have we have 6 coaches, including Marina and myself. We have a Spanish speaking coach, and we have a Portuguese speaking coach, one in Brazil, who speaks Portuguese. And then we have a coach in the UK, and then there's 3 of us here in South Africa. So,
Wow.
we can handle South America. We can handle probably the rest of the world. We deal a lot with Europe as well. Sweden, Finland, Spain, Germany, Austria, Italy, China. We've had people in China, Australia, New Zealand. Yeah. So, yeah.
Doesn't matter where you are, we'll have someone that can help you.
We work all the time.
100% international.
Totally.
Yes.
That's awesome. That is so cool. Well, I can definitely feel the, the energy, right? That you've made a decision. We're going to help heal this world from the ailments that are preventing them from being happier and healthier, and to have the life that people deserve, and whatever might be stopping them. One last question. So what are some of the most common things that people may, like, if I have this, or maybe this. So what are some of those health conditions that you help people with?
Liver. Liver is usually the one, and liver is kind of the center of the universe in the body. So we make sure that we have, we normally, I'd say 90% of our clients, we handle the liver. Like the thyroid, for instance, is secondary to the liver. The liver first gets compromised, then it's not converting the thyroid hormone. So the thyroid has nothing to do, and it becomes hyper. The liver causes the kidneys to break down. The liver is the detoxifying element, of the body, and it has all sorts of different functions. It's a wonderful organ, and it can also, if you've just got 25% left of your liver, it can actually repair to just about 100%. It's an interesting organ there. So the liver is what we normally deal with. And I mean, with the liver, if you get itchy skin, a lot of the times, like eczema type, rashes on the skin come from the liver. It actually comes from bile, comes from a blocked gallbladder. There's things like, someone who loves eating meat. He's the guy who stands around the barbecue and eats the meat off the barbecue, before they serve it up, and then he still eats more meat. That and the guy, he's got the beach ball belly, and he's got the ascites in the belly, which is the fluid which leaks out of the liver and actually fills up the abdominal cavity. It's actually not fat. That when you get a beach ball belly, it's hard, like a beach ball. It's actually fluid.
Yeah.
And when they get on our program, we put them on herbs and on a certain types of food, which go for the liver and really start healing the liver and get the liver moving again. And the guy finds himself, going to the bathroom like 20, 30 times a day. As his belly goes down, the guys get on the phone with me like, what's going on?
Oh gosh,
So the
that's so
liver is
funny.
the main thing, but I mean, a lot of it, with women, it'll probably be liver, thyroid, like the two of them, or liver, ovaries, and men is like adrenals,
But
woman.
they won't necessarily know that it's their liver. They come to us saying, I have PCOS, or I can't sleep, or, I'm so stressed, And then once we do the health assessment, they find out, oh, it's because of this that I'm like this, and then we handle them,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I love it. I love that example of the beach belly, because it's true. You're
Yeah.
like,
And,
what's
and
going on?
normally, and normally what happens is the guy, it's out of proportion,
Yeah.
his rest of his body's not fat. He's just got this beach ball belly, and that's a failing liver. Like, you really need to, if you've got a beach ball belly, you need to really take note and do something about your liver, which is what we
Yeah,
do.
and
Yeah.
it's that client who's like eating right, doing all the right things, and still inflamed, retaining water, all that fluid, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, liver is the king, right? I mean, it's so important. I thank God it regenerates, because I think without that feature, I think we'll be in a lot of trouble. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's not something you can do without,
Yeah.
you've
No,
got to have it. So
totally
it's interesting, the whole liver thing. It has so many functions. It actually can even be classed as part of the endocrine system, although it's an organ.
makes
It
sense.
does a lot of
Yeah.
hormonal stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can totally see that. That's so awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time that you've spent with us, and teaching us about what you do and how you help others, and everything that you do for people and all over the world. So we'll make sure to add your contact information as part of our show notes, to make sure that people can reach out without any barriers of time zones or location and of space. And then we'll just make sure that all that is in there, so that you can be reached easily.
Thank you so
Well, I
much.
really, yeah. Well, if there's nothing else that we want to cover, I know we could go on forever, right? Because there's
Yeah.
different topics. But I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate answering my questions and educating the audience.
You're welcome. Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
All right. See ya.
See
Bye.
you. Bye bye.
Oh, I think I lost you. Did I gain you back?